It's 9:47 on a Tuesday morning and you're already looking at the clock on your desk. You have 4,100 emails and you haven't opened even one. Your manager walks past your desk without even looking at you again. You eat lunch at your desk with a Swiggy food container sitting on top of a pile of files. On the last day of the month, 52,000 rupees comes into your bank account. By the 20th, most of that money is already gone. Rent, EMI and your parents' medicines. Your college friend Rohan posts a story. A screenshot of his green portfolio showing a 4% gain in 1 week. You look at it for longer than you'd like to admit. That night you open YouTube and search, how to start trading in the stock market. 43 minutes later you're still watching videos with the sound turned off so your roommate doesn't hear. You open a broker app just to look around. Zero tha. You don't sign up. Not yet. You simply look at the Nifty chart, green and red, moving in every direction and somehow going nowhere. The next day at work you catch yourself doing calculations on a sticky note during a meeting. If you had invested 10,000 rupees in that stock 6 months ago, it would be worth 14,200 rupees today. You quickly crumple the sticky note before anyone can see it. That evening you're standing on your terrace watching the lights in the buildings turn on one by one. You think, what if this desk isn't the only version of your life? You don't have a plan. You just have a question that you can't stop thinking about. You open the broker app again. This time your thumb stops over the sign up button. You close the app. Not tonight. But you already know you'll open it again. Finally, at 11:52 p.m., you create the account with your KYC documents spread across your bed. PAN card, Aadhaar, a selfie taken in bad lighting and a bank document you had to search for. 2 days later, the account gets approved. You simply stare at the Add Funds button. You transfer 15,000 rupees. Money you had planned to use for a new phone. Your hands are actually shaking when you place your first order. You buy 10 shares of a company you saw trending on Twitter. You don't even fully understand what the company does. Before the market closes, the stock falls 3%. You feel the loss in your stomach, not just in your account. You tell your father about it during dinner. He slowly puts down his spoon. Trading? You lose everything. I've seen people lose their houses because of this. You don't argue. You simply nod and change the topic. Your mother doesn't say anything, but she looks at you differently for the rest of the week. You start studying 10 varsity chapter every night after work. Candlestick patterns, support and resistance. Words that meant nothing to you a month ago are now keeping you awake at night. At 1 a.m. you open a spreadsheet and try to understand what a stop loss actually protects you from. Your eyes are dry. You have a 9 a.m. meeting in just 7 hours. Rohan, the same friend who posted that green portfolio screenshot, now gives you a warning instead of showing off. Bro, I lost 80,000 rupees in F&O last year. Don't touch options until you know exactly what you're doing. You nod, but somewhere inside you think, that won't happen to me. You calculate your real risk, how much money you can actually afford to lose without your life falling apart. The number is much smaller than your ego wants it to be. You open another spreadsheet. Your expenses minus this month's trading budget, a category that didn't exist before. Some nights you feel like an idiot for even trying. Other nights when you watch a green candle form on the 15-minute chart, you feel more awake than you have in years. You start setting a second alarm, 8:45 a.m. 15 minutes before the market opens. Your colleagues think you're checking cricket scores on your phone under the desk. You're actually watching the Nifty move with your heart beating a little faster than it should. One night you type something into your notes app. I'm going to actually learn this properly. You don't tell anyone. You just know that something inside you has already made the decision. The next morning you open your trading app before opening your email for the first time. Somewhere between the fear and the numbers, you've quietly become someone who trades. The market opens at 9:15. You're at your office by 9:30 with your phone positioned just enough for you to see it. During your coffee break, you place a trade from the bathroom, your heart pounding. Then comes your first real win, 1,200 rupees from a single trade. You almost tell everyone in the office. But you don't. You simply sit there quietly smiling at your screen. A week later, a trade starts going against you and you don't exit in time. You watch 4,000 rupees disappear in just 11 minutes and you can't look away from the screen. That's almost 10% of your capital gone before lunch. You skip lunch. You're not hungry. You're just replaying the chart in your head again and again. You start a trading journal. Every entry, every exit, every reason and every excuse. Most of your entries in the first month simply say, entered on gut feeling. Should not have. You stop making Sunday plans with your friends so you can study risk management instead. Your friends stop inviting you as often. You tell yourself it's only temporary. You open a second demat account so you can test strategies with paper trading before risking real money. It feels slower and much less exciting and you hate what that tells you about your own instincts. 3 months and your capital has grown to 19,000 rupees. It's small, but it's real. And it's yours. You allow yourself one proper celebration. A 150 rupee filter coffee from your favorite stall. Then comes the week when the market stays red for 5 days in a row. Every position keeps losing money. You stop checking the app for 6 hours because you're simply too scared to look. When you finally check, you're down 6,800 rupees from your highest point. You lie awake at night calculating how many months of savings that money actually represents. Your father asks you gently this time, Beta, is this still going okay? You say it's fine, Papa. But your voice doesn't completely convince either of you. You start studying F&O, futures and options. The same world Rohan had warned you about. The leverage looks tempting. With 15,000 rupees as margin, you can control a position worth 1.5 lakh rupees. You stay away from it for 2 more months. Then one Thursday you don't. You sell a bank Nifty option without fully understanding the Greeks behind it. It works. You make 2,300 rupees in just 20 minutes. It feels like magic. The next week the same type of trade wipes out 11,000 rupees in just 4 minutes. You sit completely still staring at a number that used to feel like your safety net. That night you don't open the trading app. You simply sit in the dark. You think about quitting. You actually type how to delete demat account into Google. But you don't press enter. You close the tab instead. The next morning, you go back to the basics. No options, just equity and just the strategy you know. You rebuild your discipline. One small boring correct trade at a time. You start following your stop loss even when every part of you is screaming to hold the trade. This is the least exciting trading has ever felt, and slowly your account stops losing money. You take a small trading course for 4,999 rupees from someone whose free content you had trusted for months. You already know half of it. But the other half completely changes the way you look at charts. You learn how to wait. Some days the best trade is the trade you don't take. That patience costs you nothing, but it saves you more money than any single strategy ever has. 6 months and you've read more financial reports than you did in your entire 4 years of college. You understand a balance sheet now. You understand what promoter holding actually means. Your evenings become quiet and disciplined. Charts, journal, sleep, repeat. On some weekends, while your friends post photos from weekend trips, you're sitting alone studying Nifty option chains. You feel lonely sometimes. You don't talk about it. You chose this path, but that doesn't make the loneliness less real. Your capital crosses 40,000 rupees. Not because of one huge win, but because of 40 small and careful wins. You still have your day job. Trading is still your second life lived in the small moments you can steal from the day. One evening your manager asks why you've been looking distracted during meetings lately. You almost tell him the truth. But you don't. You simply apologize and focus again. You quietly start wondering whether the second life could one day become your only life. It's a Tuesday in March. The market opens flat and quiet just like any other normal day. The night before you had spotted a setup. A stock moving in a tight range near a breakout level. This time you size your position carefully. Risking exactly 2% just like your trading journal tells you to. By 10:40 a.m. the stock breaks out with strong volume exactly as you had expected. You don't get greedy. You keep moving your stop loss up exactly as you trained yourself to do. By 2 p.m. the trade closes with a 38,000 rupee profit, more than your monthly salary. You simply sit there staring at the number waiting for the usual doubt to come. But it doesn't. For the first time the win feels earned, not lucky. That night you open your journal and read through every losing trade from the past year. You realize that this win didn't come from luck. It came from every single one of those losses. You tell your father about the trade, carefully explaining the numbers across the table. He stays quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "Show me how you did it." It's the first real conversation you've had with him about trading that isn't a warning. A week later you find another stock with a similar setup. You follow the same discipline and get another clean win. You start noticing something. Your winning trades are finally bigger than your losing trades. Not because you're winning more often, but because your losses are now much smaller. You sit down and calculate something you've been avoiding. Your actual win rate. 43%. Less than half. And yet over the year you're up 61% on your capital. For the first time the maths finally make sense to you, not just in your head but deep inside. You realize trading was never about being right all the time. It was about surviving when you're wrong. On a Thursday you submit your resignation letter. Your hands are steadier than you expected. Your manager asks what you're going to do next. You simply say, "I'm going to trade full-time now." He doesn't understand. And you don't need him to. On your last day you pack everything from your desk into one cardboard box in less than 10 minutes. You walk out of the office you've complained about for years and you don't look back even once. Your alarm still goes off at 8:45 a.m. Some things don't change. But now, at 9:15 you're sitting at your own desk in your own home completely focused. Your setup is simple. 2 monitors, a notebook and a cup of coffee that's actually still hot when you drink it. Some days the market gives you nothing. So you take nothing. That patience has become a skill, not a weakness. Your monthly income is no longer fixed. Some months you make 60,000 rupees. Some months 2 lakh rupees. And some months you lose money. You've learned to accept that uncertainty in a way your salaried self never had to. You keep 6 months of expenses untouched in a separate account. It's a rule you never break. Your father now checks the Nifty on his own phone mostly so he can talk to you about it. You still maintain a journal for every trade, not because you have to but because it's simply part of who you are now. On a slow Tuesday, you take your mother to a doctor's appointment at 11 a.m. For the first time in years, you're able to say yes to something like that without having to ask anyone for permission. You still lose money sometimes. Just last month, one bad trade cost you 22,000 rupees in a single afternoon. It hurts less than it used to, not because the loss is smaller, but because your financial foundation is stronger. You've started mentoring one person, your cousin who is cautious and curious just like you are. You tell him the truth. It took you 2 years, to failed strategies and one moment when you almost quit before you got here. You pay taxes now on short-term capital gains and you actually understand how to calculate them. There's a strange sense of pride when you file that tax return because it's proof on paper that this is real. You've stopped chasing every green candle you see on Twitter. That hunger has finally become quieter. And what replaced it isn't exactly excitement. It's something more stable. Something closer to trusting yourself. On Diwali during Muhurt trading you place one symbolic trade while your father watches over your shoulder. It's a small profit. He pats you on the shoulder and says very little. He doesn't need to say anything. You still remember the calculations you made on that sticky note at your old desk years ago. You still remember the night you typed how to delete Demat account and chose not to press enter. This life didn't change overnight. It was built through one disciplined, boring, correct decision after another. And now most evenings when the market closes at 3:30 you're simply, quietly, still here.